No, good morning. As I sit here preparing to do some studies, I am reflecting on 2 or 3 years ago, when all almost all of my civil servants at church were sent home by the ULP government. And they were sent home because they were not willing to be enslaved. They were not willing to be enslaved. They simply said that we don't trust this vaccine. We don't think it's good for our body. We don't think we can trust the people who want to introduce it to us. We don't think so. And they were sent home. I watched my policemen, our policeman, policewoman, teachers, and nurses. They were sent home by this government, the ULP government. And up to this day, the only thing we have heard is come back for a job. It's not come back for your job. If it were your job, they will be reinstated to their previous positions with their previous pay. So it's not come back morning to your job. They were asked to come back to a job. A job. Meaning that whatever sacrifices they made over the years, whatever education they might have attained, and years they put in might not be, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'll say might not be as relevant. Come back to your job, or come back to a job. We don't care how much you have lost. We don't care if you lost your property. We don't care how your children suffered. We don't care about your mortgage. We don't care about your pain. Just come back for a job. And I see people, a conversation, somebody said to me yesterday that they were in a session. And in this session was a pastor's wife. And the pastor, there's a lady communicating to the pastor's wife. And this is the lady to the pastor's wife. Your husband preparing to go campaign for you, preparing to go campaign now, election time close. ULP. And that is something else. And I am about to lose. I don't care, you know. Some of you who I felt had love, I don't care. If all you don't talk to me after watching this live, I don't care. I really don't. I'm tired of all you and all the hypocrisy. Because if the pastor is speaking for the ULP, they're a good person. But if the pastor is highlighting, not even speaking for a political party, but highlighting the ills, he's evil. So people like me have no right to think about my members and the suffering they felt. I have no right to feel for them. I am supposed to tell them, like the other pastors who came on social media when our Prime Minister asks, why is the church not basically asking its members to take the vaccine? Many are so-called vaccine. Many pastors run on social media and they were ready to speak and say, oh, it's good and now we are finding out it is not healthy. We are finding out how dangerous this vaccine is. And how much it has damaged people health-wise. Took lives. People lost their lives. But if you do that, you are branded as not nice. Then it's not nice. Well, such is life. So let me see what I have to say. I still, and I would always go back to my early days as a young man in the evangelical church, ECWI church. How political a lot of the pastors were. They were pastors from ECWI church. They used to drive around with labor sticker on the vehicle and campaigning. And I remember one of the pastor's own children came on social media and cussed me out under my own post. Because they felt I was speaking against their party and their father and their uncle who used to wear his labor jersey. And I had a picture of him in a labor jersey with a bohan leading protests. But I don't have time with them because I don't live by any of them, and I don't join with them because the way they live, I don't live. I'm not in the wall and in the church, and I cannot be bought. And by now that is known. I don't need favors from anybody. I'm a fighter. I fight. And that is, if it's one thing that is known about me, I cry a lot, but I also fight a lot. I'm a fighter. But the hypocrisy was shown. Whatever state we are in was strengthened by a lot of these so-called pastors. And I shouldn't even call them so-called because they are pastors, they were ordained. These pastors who I watch on a Sunday morning going to Convention Food Evangelical Church, driving into the parking lot wherever the convention is happening with the horns and the jeep and the vehicles decked down in red and white with stickers. But these are the same wicked, heartless ones that are always ready to attack people when they speak about the ills that a government is doing. And there is no perfect government. I would expect that if NDP goes there and they do when they not if but when they do wickedness, people speak out. But I don't understand why nobody has a right to talk about these kind of things. Well, I don't live by all you. I don't live by Christian council. I don't live by pastors in this place. I don't beg any of you. I don't come to all your house with my hands stretched out so I can speak. I can speak. So don't expect me to be afraid, because I'm not afraid to lose my life either. I don't own it. It was a wicked thing to do. Ralph Gonsalves and his government was wicked when it comes to that. It was a wicked thing to do. And to tell people now to come back to work and not demonstrate some kind of a grace. Real grace. Real grace. Morning, Minister Bailey. Real grace. By saying, all right, we would at least pay up your mortgage. Let's pay your we'll pay your mortgage. Or we'll find a way to see how we could assess the damages caused. Because we realize that there were some errors made. But you're telling them, come back to work. We don't care about your losses. We don't care about the pain of your children. We don't care about the fact that you have to be begging. Because I remember people coming to my office begging for rent money, mortgage money, food money, and they were not accustomed to begging because they worked hard. And then you expect everybody to just smile about these things. Again, one judge out of 3 said, no, there are some aspects of this thing that is very unfair. It's not fair. Do something about it. Stretch out an olive branch, whatever they call it. No, come back for a job, not your job. They come back for a job. You are rehiring them. It's a job. And that is why I am becoming more and more comfortable. I don't want to associate myself with pastors in St. Vincent. You think that changed? That hasn't changed because they're hypocrites. They demonstrate too much hypocrisy. And I'm not talking about imperfections because all of us are imperfect. I'm not talking about that. I'm not looking at their faults. They may fall and make a mistake. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the constant disregard for the pain of people, some of the very people that they lead. the lack of concern. You understand? That was not fair. That was not nice. And it is being done to them over and over again because nobody is hearing, okay, we'll go and we'll investigate and we'll see what you lost. Maybe we can't give you all your monies back. I don't really agree to that part. I know there are people who don't agree with me with that. But personally, I think that they should aim to reach the government in some way, halfway. That's how I feel. But that is my personal opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. But to be jogging on this thing for so many years without even saying, okay, others did it. Other nations did it. Trump just won. I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of Trump. But Trump realized we need our army men. You can't cheat them like they're not a need. We'll take them back and we'll pay them, give them the back pay. You can't act as if the teachers that lost their jobs are not a necessity. And the policemen and the nurses. Look at the condition of our health system. Take a look at it. And tell me, look at our schools. And there is still this disregard for the pain felt in that period. Not even I am sorry. When we're seeing all over the world a pushback concerning these vaccines and the way they were done, the way it was introduced, the things that were done to people. There is no grace. I don't see grace from this government. I see pompousness. That's what I see. Puffed upness. We don't care. All the beggars. And I know I'll go get hungry. So I'll have to come back to the work. That's what I see. Not okay. Maybe there were mistakes on each side. And there was none, to be truthful, from my perspective. When it comes to those who didn't take the vaccines. They had a right not to. But let's see how we can really deal with this matter. Let's talk. Let's come to some kind of a rational conclusion. No. Even people who are wrong at times have to find themselves apologizing. Have to find themselves apologizing. It was a wicked act. Draconian is the right word. Unfair. That's what it was. It wasn't nice. And I know many people who those vaccines damage. I know many people who those vaccines damage. People who never had diabetes found out they had it. High blood pressure. People who had diabetes, and were managing it well, they took the vaccine, lost limbs, lost life. It did a lot. There was no love in it. No love in that approach. It was evil. Downright evil. And I, Dennis Olive, don't join and I don't support evil. I would not be a part of evil. I would not do it. I rather suffer than to call wrong right and right wrong. I would not do it. This is just my nature, and I thank God He made me this way. So now, I pass the people who are told, come back. And I told them the ball is in your court. I would not tell you not to do it or not to do it. York said she lost her sister to that. So unfair and unfortunate. We know it. We know there are people who took the vaccine and they had start to fail them. We know it. They know it. They know it. The government of this country, the government of civilians know what, because Pfizer and all of them are already admitting. Now, the damages that the vaccines cause, the blood clot, and other things. And what is unfortunate is the church in this country, the scribes and the Pharisees, are yet to say we were wrong. To this day, pastors and leaders in the church, to this day, they would not come out and say, you know what? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were part of something and it might not have been the best thing. We are sorry. We are praying. We who didn't take the vaccine demonstrate more grace than a lot of you. Because I remember a lot of you were wishing death on people. And maybe earlier in my ignorance, I might have said certain things. I retracted them very early. Because a life is a life. To watch people die and leave their children and their spouses is not a good thing. No matter what side of the fence you found yourself, death is painful. And you can't wish those things on anybody. So I am one more time saying it. One, if the NDP offers to pay them back, I applaud them. Then there is no need to go to the Privy Council if the NDP wins. Now I'm going to say this without any water in my mouth. Getting me to go to a polling station would have been very, very, very difficult if it wasn't for the verdict from the CCJ. It would have been very, very difficult to get me to go to a polling station and vote. But, and if the Prime Minister had said, you know what? All right, let's talk about this thing. Let's walk it out. But to continue with this Draconian, what is the right word? Draconian law? Nah. And this is all I would say. That is all I would say. I was saying, all of these people are the same. All of them are the same. But no grace, no calling of the heads of these unions to say, let us sit down and talk. We would pay the mortgages. We'll see to it that they get back their homes. No, none of that. No. We'll pay up the mortgages and we'll pay some damages. Maybe we can't pay you all of the salaries you miss, but we'll do our best. We'll meet you somewhere. Not even that. But I wanna care from 12 past 2-3 years. I wanna care. We don't care. Just come back and beg for work. I don't support that. And I would not support that. I have a bit of things to do, so I'll have a good day. God bless you.